Hello, I'm Alexander Rebelle and welcome to another Rebelle movie review. Today we're going to take a look at a Charles Bronson film. Now you might be asking, who is Charles Bronson? And if you are, that's because he was probably before your time. Charles Bronson was an action hero. Before there was Sylvester Stallone and before there was Arnold Schwarzenegger, there was Charles Bronson. He enjoyed a long, successful career as an actor starting in the 1950s, and his most successful role came with the film Death Wish in 1974. But instead of taking a look at that movie, I want to take a look at one of his films from his later career, The Evil That Men Do. The movie was hated by critics after its release in 1984, but I watched the film now and I think it's very underrated. I would strongly recommend you get your hands on it and watch it. So without further ado, let's have a look at it.
Gentlemen, torture as a political instrument is no longer the crude and brutal extraction of information from one's enemies. It has become a subtle and sophisticated specialty.
Alright, so we have a man in a black hood talking about torture so far. We don't see Charles Bronson yet, but we have to be patient. So obviously, this man will be the villain of the movie. That would be the logical conclusion to draw from this, and we quickly learn that we're correct as the man tortures some guy. And meanwhile, some other guy works on a car. Maybe he's a mechanic and is fixing it. Probably not, because another car arrives and everyone gets in. I guess the plan didn't work. So then we cut to the ocean. The Cayman Islands, I guess. But where's Charles Bronson? Oh, there he is.
Good morning, Quasimodo.
Wait, what?
Good morning, Quasimodo.
Good morning, Quasimodo. Does this mean Charles Bronson has a pet fish? I have no idea. I'll just assume he has a pet fish. But after saying hello to the fish, Charles Bronson sees a boat. And who's on the boat? Alright, 3 men in a suitcase. So Charles Bronson goes and meets these men on the boat. One of them has a very interesting name.
My name is Hector Lamalin.
Wait, what was that?
My name is Hector Lamalin.
Alright, he's Hector. But anyway, Charles Bronson asks Hector about George.
How are you? How's George?
He's dead.
Alright, so whoever George is, Charles Bronson then informs us about the Doctor.
George was a journalist. He had no business getting mixed up with someone like the Doctor.
And Hector tells Charles Bronson that he needs to get the job done.
He always counted on you on getting the job done.
I think we see how this is going. But of course, Charles Bronson is retired now, and he won't even think of doing another job. But Hector just happens to have several videos of people that have been tortured by the Doctor.
Man in the hood. The man they called the Doctor. It was he who selected those to be tortured, those to be shot.
Charles Bronson turns the job down anyway, though, because he's retired. And next we see the Doctor again. Some guy in a uniform tells the Doctor about human rights violations.
Meaning and study of human rights violations.
Human rights violations? There is no such thing.
Alright, we get it. The Doctor is evil. So long story short, the guy in the uniform orders the Doctor to leave. And then we cut to Mexico City, as the screen tells us. Hector is there giving a lecture. And guess who's there? That's right, it's Charles Bronson. And surprise, surprise, he's changed his mind about the job.
Change your mind, eh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Wow, what a surprise. I never saw that coming. So anyway, he agrees to do the job and then he takes some woman and a child on a plane. Now, this is supposed to be a Charles Bronson action film, and we're 20 minutes into it without any action. Will there be any action? Finally, there's some action. But Charles Bronson has nothing to do with it. This is a slow start to the film, but it does get a lot better, I promise you. We just have to wait. So we get more exposition about the Doctor now. He has 3 assassins by his side, blah blah blah. But then we get this.
Most of my collection is at my place in the country.
What I really need is a shotgun with a sawed-off barrel and shells to go with it, and a large caliber handgun.
Now we're talking. This is why we watch Charles Bronson movies, for the guns. The gun is good. We all need more guns in our lives, and that's why we have Charles Bronson. So anyway, we cut to Charles Bronson seeing the Doctor. The Doctor's henchmen conveniently see Charles Bronson in the crowd, and then this happens.
Hey, mister, do you want some dope?
Sir?
I said dope. Do you want any?
Aren't we in Mexico? Why is this guy speaking English? I don't know. And I don't know if Charles Bronson responds in English either. He might have even said yes, but we don't know. Listen to this.
You have elephant?
Huh?
You mean toy dog?
Huh?
I guess you don't.
What did he say?
You have elephant?
Huh?
You mean toy dog?
Huh?
I guess you don't.
I'm sure that was the greatest line ever spoken on the set of a movie, but we have no idea what he said. So next we see the guy that tried to sell Charles Bronson some dope in English walking through the hotel. You'd think Charles Bronson might be in trouble now, but no, he's Charles Bronson. He feels a disturbance in the force and conveniently wakes up. Look at him. He's using his spider sense to listen to the footsteps because he's Charles Bronson. He can hear an enemy from a mile away. So what happens? Nothing happens! This movie is very frustrating so far, but give it time, it gets good. So the next day, Charles Bronson goes to some place. We're not really told what it is, but we're led to believe it's a place you don't want to be. Charles Bronson doesn't care though. He is Charles Bronson. There is no man alive that can stop him. And he has a gun now, which is good. Charles Bronson without a gun is not very interesting. But anyway, it's suddenly nighttime. Charles Bronson has been standing there in that same exact place for hours, because he's Charles Bronson. Chuck Norris has nothing on Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson is the man. So some guy in a Volkswagen arrives at the place and meets one of the Doctor's assassins. Charles Bronson witnesses the interaction, and then it's daytime, and he tells the woman he's with that he doesn't need her anymore. And then we cut back to the same place he was last night. The Doctor makes a phone call to Randall, which I guess is the name of one of the assassins.
Yes, sir? There is a problem with Paul Riggs. He's not keeping his end of the bargain.
So Charles Bronson says goodbye to the woman's child. And then the Randall guy is driving in a car, but he's in deep trouble because Charles Bronson sees him. Randall gets out of the car and then goes into the embassy. Charles Bronson just watches him like the badass he is. But what's Randall doing there? We'll just have to wait and find out.
Jesus Christ, you scared the shit out of me. Well.
Well, that's random. There hasn't been any profanity in the movie to this point, and now we get that. Interesting. But anyway, Randall threatens the embassy guy, and the embassy guy agrees to see what he can do.
That's exactly what you're going to do,
and see to it that it's done.
So Randall leaves the embassy and Charles Bronson sees him and follows him. This movie was released in 1984. It's actually very well done and well acted, but it's starting very slow. There hasn't been any Charles Bronson action yet and we're almost halfway through it. But anyway, Charles Bronson follows Randall and then comes to a stop and tells the woman to wait in the car.
Take the car and go back to the hotel.
Where are you going?
Going inside.
Holland, wait.
His character has a name? I thought he was just supposed to be Charles Bronson playing himself. Of course, we don't know exactly what that name is. If we listen carefully, we can't figure out what she says.
Take the car and go back to the hotel.
Where are you going?
Going inside.
Holland, wait.
Hollis? Holland? I don't know what she says. After some research, I figured out his name is supposed to be Holland, like the place in the Netherlands. But for now, if you're just watching this for the first time, this guy's name is a mystery. So anyway, the woman follows Charles Bronson and they go into a bar. And what happens there? Will there be any action? We'll find out.
Jeez. No sooner do I turn my back than you pick somebody up.
I think there might be some action. Let's get our guns out and watch.
What you're feeling now is your own mortality. This bastard knows about it.
Here it comes. This guy's about to get it. I really hope he is, because it would drive me insane if he isn't.
He knows all about it.
Yes, there it is. That'll teach you to mess with Charles Bronson. We're 40 minutes into the movie and something exciting has finally happened. Better late than never, I guess. So Charles Bronson teaches the guy a lesson, and then Randall is impressed.
You all right?
Hey, you've got strong hands, Book.
I just had glass chandeliers. I didn't know what the hell else to do.
Now let's try and guess what happens here. Will it be A, Charles Bronson kicks Randall's ass, B, Charles Bronson shows Randall his gun, or C, Charles Bronson invites Randall to have a threesome with him and the woman? What's the correct answer? I kid you not. The answer is C.
Three's all right with me?
Yes, Charles Bronson invites Randall to have a threesome with himself and the woman. Now my question is, will it happen? Well, let's find out.
How about a drink to get this party started?
I guess not. I'm actually happy it didn't happen. I'd much rather have a hilarious death scene. So Randall dies and the woman is freaked out, so Charles Bronson sends her home. And then Charles Bronson goes back to whatever the building with all the cameras was. I guess it's where Randall lived before he died. The doctor might live there too. And then, because he's Charles Bronson, he leaves Randall's body there and takes his revolver and shoots all the lights and cameras with his super one-shot accuracy. That's how you do it. And then he drives away. Everyone is surprised to see that Randall is dead. But then we learn that the annoying woman who was staying with Charles Bronson didn't actually leave.
I need to know he's finished.
Alright, I suppose that's believable. The doctor did kill her husband, so the woman asks Charles Bronson what he's going to do next. And what do you think he says?
Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to rattle his cage.
So the movie is finally starting to get interesting. It's not boring anymore. So we cut back to the bar where Charles Bronson met Randall. There's another of the doctor's men there asking questions about Randall.
Yeah, he was here. He left with a couple of tourists.
Any idea where they were going?
No, none.
Thanks.
But guess what? Charles Bronson, using his telekinetic powers, just happens to have known this man would be at the bar at this exact time, and this means trouble for that man. Now you might be asking, how did Charles Bronson manage to kill someone just by putting him in a headlock for a few seconds? Well, I can tell you. He's Charles Bronson. He has the strength of 1,000 men. Superman has nothing on Charles Bronson. If he and Superman got into a fight, Superman wouldn't last 10 seconds. But anyway, next we see Charles Bronson watching the doctor.
Will you belong.
I hope not.
I don't know why he doesn't just kill the doctor now. He's Charles Bronson. There is no level of security that could stop him from taking the doctor out. But I guess he's just waiting until the right moment. So the doctor and the man at the embassy have a conversation about Randall and the other guy that got killed. The doctor wants the ambassador to find out who did it.
I don't know a goddamn thing about
Now
this.
then do your duty as one of America's snarling watchdogs and find out.
Yes, but the local police...
I don't trust them, Briggs, nor do I trust Colonel Aristos, and I only just barely trust you.
I love the doctor's stereotypical villain British accent. If you weren't aware of the fact that he's a villain before, the accent just gives it away. So next, Charles Bronson goes to the apartment of the doctor's sister, and he kills some guy there before holding the sister at gunpoint.
Get dressed.
This scene was actually very suspenseful when I watched it. You're anxious to see if Charles Bronson will get out of this. But of course he does. He's Charles Bronson. I challenge you to find a single man alive that could take him down. But anyway, Charles Bronson has the doctor's sister hostage now. He decides to take her to a place far away, and he tells his allies to go into hiding as well. And then the ambassador launches an investigation to find Charles Bronson. The doctor is angry, as you might imagine.
Damn it, Briggs, stop playing guessing games. Carl, Chilero, and Randolph deserved what they got for being so stupid. Now, all I care about is my sister. Now, get outside help.
My people can handle it.
Get outside help, Briggs.
So next we see that the doctor has tortured the man that helped Charles Bronson in the beginning, and the doctor has found out where he and the woman are. But that doesn't matter, because Charles Bronson calls the doctor and uses the Jedi mind trick on him.
Hello?
I have somebody here that belongs to you, Moloch. What do you say, Moloch?
I'll need time. A few more hours.
He knows we're here.
Yes, using the power of the Force, I assume, Charles Bronson knows that the doctor knows where he is. So what does Charles Bronson do about that? They all get into a car and drive away. And this begins what we'd expect from a Charles Bronson movie, a car chase gunfight. And it draws on, but it's actually very exciting. That is, until it gets funny. At the end of it, what do you think happens to the car with the bad guys? I want you to write down your answer and then hold it up. Are you ready? Alright, watch this. That's right, it explodes, as all cars in action films do. Now, you might be asking why this car explodes. We weren't led to believe there was a bomb in it or anything, but here to tell us the science behind movie car explosions is my good friend and world-renowned scientist, Dr. Victor. Hello, comrade. Victor, expert on explosion. Back in 1973, Soviet Kremlin asked Victor to conduct big Russian study that bring glory to Soviet Union. Victor graciously accepted, and Victor began study in 1974. Soviet Kremlin want to know why in American movie does American car explode. It seemed to Kremlin that car not have good reason to explode when it does. So Victor head to Siberia to begin research on American car. After 8 months study, Victor determined that American car made of certain chemical compound that react explosively with compound and body of movie villain. This compound composed of chlorine, iodine, carbon, and helium, or ClIche. Victor named this compound Cliché and submit finding to Soviet Kremlin that explosion in American movie is caused by Cliché. So in Victor's opinion, Victor think that the explosion in this movie is also caused by Cliché. Thank you, Victor. So anyway, where were we? Right, the car explodes and Charles Bronson escapes death. Now what happened to the doctor's sister, you might ask? Well, this happened. At least it's realistic. In other action movies, she would have survived all the gunshots to the car. So I give Hollywood credit this time. But anyway, Charles Bronson and the woman negotiate with a local farmer to buy his truck.
Fellow would like to buy his truck.
¿Cuánto quiere por su camión?
I guess one thing Charles Bronson can't do is speak Spanish. ¿Y por qué? No hay razón. Es Charles Bronson. Yo puedo hablar español. ¿Por qué él no puede? I don't know. So they bury the doctor's sister and then take the truck. So you can guess what happens next. The bad guys find the bodies and then interrogate the farmers. I'm sure you can see what's coming. Yes, so all that's left for Charles Bronson to do in this movie is kill the doctor. And how will he do that? Well, let's find out. Yes, the doctor conveniently has the woman's child at gunpoint. And will Charles Bronson save the day? Will he get out of this with the child's life intact?
A fair exchange. The child for my sister.
What are you going to do?
You heard the man. He wants to exchange the child for the sister. But the sister is dead. So what will Charles Bronson do? Well, first, all of the people that the doctor tortured surround him. And then this happens. Alright, so how does the doctor die? There you go. You know what happens next. Charles Bronson and the woman are together now. They're on the island again and they're happy. And that's it. So all in all, The Evil That Men Do might start slow, but is really an excellent movie. I would recommend that you watch it if you're interested in old action movies. What I like about it is that it might be cliche and predictable at times, but it pays attention to detail and is really believable. Critics thought it was too violent in 1984, but by today's standards it's nothing unusual and it's even pretty good. So we'll actually give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm Alexander Rebelle and thank you for watching this review.